Welcome to tutorial number 2. Today what we're going to be doing is making a Reese bass. This is kind of bass that I use quite a lot in my tunes and probably continue to use as well because of their usefulness. It sounds a lot like this. Absolutely love them. Right, so what we're going to do is start off by creating a combinator. So we can save the patch later on, as soon as I find it. And then what I'm going to do is create a 4. Right, and what you want to do with this is reset the patch, reset the device. So this basically just gives you very basic sort of saw sound from the analog oscillator. Right, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the amp envelope and I'm going to take the sustain all the way up. That's so the volume doesn't lose volume over time. Right, and then I'm going to bring the attack to about 14 milliseconds and the release about the same. This is so to stop any clicking at the start and the end of the notes. Okay, the first thing I do when I'm going to create a Reese bass is I make 2 analog oscillators and I detune them against each other to about 26, 24 sort of sound, 25. And then I enable the second oscillator, which gives you that sort of phasing sound, and it's going to be the basis for the sound that we make later on. The next thing that I like to do is go to the keyboard mode and bring out mono legato. Basically what this does, it stops you from hitting 2 or more keys at the same time, and it also, instead of re-triggering the sound like the one underneath it, it gives like a smooth transition from one note to the other, which is really handy in what we're going to be doing later. The next thing I like to do is put the portamento on as well, which gives the notes that sort of bridge in between, so it creates more movement and it sounds quite nice. That would be pretty important in the sort of drum and bass tune where there's a lot of movement, not just from the different notes being played, but through modulation and automation as well. And all these little bits and bobs come together to create the overall sound of the Reese bass that we're going to make. Right, next thing I want to do is use the low pass filter and just bring it down a little bit just to stop any harsh frequencies at this stage. This is a perfect opportunity to get rid of anything that you don't want, because before it goes into the scream, otherwise you'll have all these horrible frequencies knocking around the scream and then going back through, which is harder to correct with the equalizer that you're going to use after that. So the more you can get the sound clean and nice as possible in the sort of synthesizer stage, the better it will sound as you go on. And also don't forget to bring the filter envelope all the way up as well to make sure that the filter doesn't change over time when the notes being played. Okay, second oscillator, just activate that at the bottom. That just brings a new dimension, so, and gives access to all these little bits and bobs around here as well. So it sort of builds the sound up a little bit more. And we're going to use the shaper as well and put it on wrap, which is that way. And bring the drive up to about 15 or so. So the sound's taking shape already, which is making me very happy. And what I've used over here as well, I've used a bit of resonance, but it's not essential. You can probably not even tell with that what I've done there. Okay, sweet. Right, next thing you want to go to create more movement in the sound is use the LFO, which is down here. We use LFO 1 and 2 in this case, so we can get 2 different movements going at the same time. Bring that up to about 50, 47, 50, yeah, that'll do. I'll bring that down a bit actually, 24. And then in the destination, you want it to hit filter 1 frequency on LFO 1 and filter 2 frequency on LFO 2. And what this will do is enable the LFOs up here to mess around with the frequency on here, so it sort of automates it when the note's pressed. I'll demonstrate that in a minute. Right, now we're going to bring up another low pass filter, and this one's going to stay reasonably high, and that's because when we're taking down the highs in this, on this filter, we can leave some of the highs to go through on the second oscillator through here, so we can mix it a lot better, and sort of gives that extra depth to the sound which we're trying to create. Sweet, and this is where we're at the moment. So we're getting there, happy days. Right, on LFO1, you want tempo sync. I quite like to bring this down a little bit, like 4:1. So there's slow movement amongst the filter. Otherwise, it can be too fast. And we do that for the same. We'll bring that down to 3:1. So there's the interchanging sort of movement on there on the two filters. All right. Next thing you want to go on to, or what I like to use, I like to put a lot of chorus on some of my bass sounds just to give it that width and that fatness that you know we all like. So this is demonstrate. I'll just show you what it sounds like without it. Sounds pretty cool. You whack the chorus on. It's just that extra element. It's that extra layer to the sound, and that's that extra bit that we sort of want. And before I forget, just enable the second oscillator to pass through here. And so it's really starting to come together now. Happy days. Right. And then what you want to do is bring out the scream, which is an absolute beast of a tool. This can work wonders. And what I like to do is bring the damage up a little bit, and then bring the damage type down to warp. So we're really getting some grit and some dirt now. Stick the sharpness and bias all the way up. I like to enable the cut as well, because that sort of gives like a nice big sound to it. So if you take that off, it's a bit flatter, isn't it? But with the mid cut, it sounds a lot bigger, which is what we want. We want a nice big sound. Bring the scale all the way up. I don't use any resonance on this stage, and I like to use body type B quite a lot. B and E I find are the best ones on here, but of course, I mean this is what A sounds like. B, C. It's a bit duller, but I mean you could probably EQ that, like EQ the top end a bit more after that if you wanted to. But I usually like to stick with B. There's D and E. So they've all got their own little characteristics. I like to stick to B on this one. Right. And then what we want to do is bring out an equalizer. And then with this, we're going to cut the mids even more. Make sure you hit the low cut so there's no rumble on the bottom end or any dodgy frequencies coming through. And hit parameter 1 and bring this to about 320 or so. Yeah, the Q's all right. And what we're doing there is scooping out some of the mids for like part of the snare we'll hit around here as well, and just sort of makes the sound a bit bigger. And on the second one, what I did on here is because some of the higher frequencies are quite harsh, so what I did, I just cut them slightly around the 5, 6, sort of 7K area. Should we go up to there? And what I like to do on these, when I'm sort of getting harsh frequencies out, I give it the boost first, and then you can sort of hear where it's going wrong. So if I play this now, that's the harsh frequencies fully boosted, and you can sort of track it down by playing the note and then moving the frequency around. Like that's pretty horrible. Like that's sort of what we want to get rid of. So just bring that down. And you can sort of flatten the Q out a bit as well. Bring that down a little bit. So it's sort of nice and natural. Happy days. And then this is what the equalizer is doing for us. So it just makes it a little bit bigger and takes off any harshness that we might be getting from the scream or from the synth itself. Cool. Right, then what I like to do is I'll bring out a bandpass filter, which is in here on the envelope controlled filter, ECF42. And what this does, this is basically like a excuse me, like a notch filter. And what it does, it cuts out, similar to what we've done here, cuts a bit of the frequency spectrum out, and then you can move it around using the frequency here, which of course can be automated. And this is what we've got now. So it's starting to sound a lot more evil. I mean, you don't even need to use these if you don't want to. You can create the movement by automating the frequency on here. I mean, that'll work as quite well as well, because the bandpass mode on these filters is, oh, excuse me, keep burping. Oh, yeah, bandpass mode on these filters is quite harsh, as you can hear. So it does take a lot of the sound away, but it does give you that movement. So it takes it from being like an in-your-face sort of Reese bass to sort of like I'm not going to say background, but it just brings it back that little bit, just so you can get that movement and you can shoot it through the mix here and there where you want to get it. So I'll just stick that down about halfway, so it's sort of default setting. And then what I like to do is bring out the low pass filter, just a final low pass, same filter, just a different setting, and just bring that up to about sort of 9/10 of the way, 90% or so. It just cuts off any more harsh frequencies that we've got at the top. Otherwise, yeah, you could just hear that. It's like that sort of crispy, crunchy top end, which isn't. I don't really want that on there, so I like to just. There we go. That'll do. And that just sort of cuts away any harsh top end frequencies. Cool. So yeah, that's how I make a lot of my basses in Reason. Hopefully, I've sort of covered everything. But I mean, the point of this tutorial isn't how to teach you how to make this particular bass that I like to use or that I make quite a lot. It's just to sort of, I don't know, sort of encourage you to have a go and sort of make your own basses as well. And it sort of shows what you can do and what different sounds you can sort of achieve with the Thor. So yeah, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to hearing from you in the comments. Cheers.